Alright guys, we're going to hand it over to Turbodog, and we're going to enjoy some Castlevania Lords of Shadow New Game Plus. So, hope everybody enjoys this next run.
All right, let me check something on my end as well. So I'm going to complete this level. Okay. So I actually just missed menu there, but that's all right. All right, let me check something on my end as well. So I'm going to complete this level. Okay. So I actually just missed menu there, but that's all right. All right, let me check something on my end as well. Apparently we got sound now. Apparently that happened. All right, so we're coming to the first Titan here. So if you've heard people say that this game rips off of Shadow of the Colossus, this is why. But we're going to minimize that quite a bit here. So normally you're supposed to break ruins all over these Titans, and it takes about, 10 hits or so to break each ruin. By using this dark... And we're out of Chapter 1. So, Chapter 2. Chapter 2 is the beginning of, basically things going abhorrently wrong, potentially. So, funny thing, I have currently a PB in this game of 129.34. And we're out of Chapter 1. So, Chapter 2. Chapter 2 is which is substantially lower than the basically things going abhorrently wrong, potentially. Somewhat of a good reason for that. So, funny thing, I have really revolves around the fact that this game punishes you like crazy if you miss certain skips. And since I'm going to be doing stuff that basically used to be segmented only, I'm trying to cut myself a little slack. And hey, maybe we can get back on schedule, right? With a little bit of a faster time. All right. So this is going to be a skip of an arena and a couple cutscenes here, if I can pull it off correctly. All right. So it is possible to bypass this statue and jumping, but I'm not going to do it because I could fall out of bounds into an infinity zone of death and despair. So right now we're out of bounds outside of basically the visibility of the level. And that comes to one of the key kind of aspects of speedrunning this game, and that's that you have to have a keen understanding of what your positioning is on any given level, where the invisible walls are, and kind of get an idea of where you should be at any given time with the movement that you do. So you really have to kind of master certain aspects of the collision of the game and just situational awareness of what's happening at any given time. We're going to go ahead and kill this spooter real quick. Spooter's well-known denizens of evil. Stopping the courageous Gabriel, who's not at all just a huge coward. Wow, okay. Yeah, that invisible wall tends to stop you for some reason. Just kind of silly. So this is a slightly new strat that I've implemented from the segmented run. Let's hope it works. Nice. So normally you're supposed to balance through those webs that I'm jumping over. But if you jump at them just right, you can actually bypass them. See you later, Spooter. All right, so we're coming up to another skip here. That door in the background, we're supposed to pick up 2 keys to open it up. But I'd rather pick up no keys if the game will let me. So we're going to slam out of bounds. Currently, I'm behind the wall on the right, and now I'm jumping back inbound, or not back inbounds, but out of bounds down here. And from here, we have a few options in order to get to the next section. So right now I'm kind of like floating on an invisible slope behind the door. And I was trying to get into a position right here where I can start kind of climbing up the dome. And that allows me to get inside of here. And we've just passed over getting in that door and picked up the relic. If you get a really good version of that, you can actually skip over that cutscene that I got. But that's rather rare that happens. Intense sawing action. And we out of here. So Labyrinth Entrance. Labyrinth Entrance is going to be the first appearance of potentially glitched bore charges. It's also the first time that we might end up crashing the game. So let's hope that doesn't happen. How that works is basically when you dismount a bore, in the PC version at least, it seems like that's when the game is most susceptible to crashing. We didn't get a glitch charge. So normally you're supposed to get a nice little running start to hit this door. But if you do that, every once in a while you'll be able to kind of like charge the door at point blank and the game will count it. And that's a glitched bore charge. There's 4 places where it can potentially save time, but they're not entirely in your control. So we're going to skip 80% of this level now by jumping into the Great Beyond, into a void beyond voids. Take some nice looks at these tree roots. So backwards long jumping is a really good evolution of strats that used to involve just using holy water in huge amounts to gain height. Because of the advent of it, this jump went from basically segmented to RTA viable, which is awesome. This is a use of guillotine. The move guillotine can be used at certain places to almost grab onto terrain and relaunch off of it. And that allows us to approach this arena from the backside. If we approach it from the front, then we start the arena, and these goblins basically steal this lever and start running around with it. Speaking of holy water, so holy water is a really, really good offensive and defensive item, but its main purpose inside of the speed run involves using it to gain height and maintain height. Holy water basically has really good anti-gravity properties, along with the avalanche punch. Also, this statue has pretty good anti-gravity properties, as you'll see me stand on thin air above it. So we're on top of this invisible wall. Okay, we just missed it. So we need to land on a very, very specific part of like a ledge out of bounds there. Damn. Okay. So we got to restart from checkpoint here, which is fine. Starts at the beginning of the level. Since we got that camera change, getting that camera change sucks us into an arena that's in the center of the stage. So we really, really don't want that to happen. Wow. Can I please get up here? Thank you. So sometimes this is a little bit finicky for getting the height you need. Okay. All right. Now let's hope this works. Okay, hopefully that works, because I landed on the ground. Okay, it's good. So I landed on the other side of this chasm, but I'm currently still out of bounds. So we're going to have to do a jumping sequence to jump on top of this tunnel and then slam ourselves back in bounds. That is the Waterfalls of Akarta skip. It didn't save as much time since it took me a while to set up there, but that's still like a 30-second time save compared to the next fastest strat. It's one of the hardest skips inside of the entire game. It took me probably about a month before I actually wanted to make when he made Metal Gear. Nice little climbing skip here. Also skips having to fight a bunch of werewolves. There is an alternate skip you could do there if you didn't want to waste holy water, but since this is full power run, you can get away with it super hard. Alright. Now Akarta. So, I'm going to take a very, very slight break here. Basically, a girl comes over here and climbs up this wall, which the game claims it is impossible to climb up here. You'd better find an alternate way. And I mean, like, who am I to disagree with the game that it is impossible to indeed climb up this wall, this treacherous... Oh, we did it. Okay, never mind. So that's like a 12-minute level. That's now less than 1 minute.
This strange girl? Surely she could not have...
Alright, we're going to go ahead and do Dark Dungeon now, which is another one that's extremely difficult when you're first learning, but I actually have learned to really enjoy it. There's a lot of ways you can take this climbing part. This is a really conservative way, but also consistent. There's a lot of really risky things you could try instead, but this is the one that I go with. Alright. Nice little ice skating up those stairs. So we're supposed to pick up 2 keys, which raises a bridge. But instead, I would rather just, you know, like, I don't know, jump over this invisible wall and then fly over the chasm with majestic grace. I'm going to do a slight climbing skip here as well. And some of these climbing skips are incredibly minor. Like, some of them that I've implemented in the run only save like 3 seconds. But then there's other ones where, like, sometimes skipping climbing or, like, shimmying around on ledges can sometimes save you, like, 10, 20 seconds. We're going to break a Dark Crystal here just because you get a slightly faster time finishing this level if you keep killing these imps. It's almost not worth it, but again, since we get full resources from full power, it's totally fine. So how are you enjoying the marathon so far, Mash? It's okay. Mash is apparently doing some dark pacts with some otherworldly beings in order to get audio for this round. So the classic Belmont on the side here.
Oh, I mean, aside from that audio issue, I think things were going great.
So Sanctuary Entrance, this is another level that's basically completely torn apart. Normally you're supposed to go around the stage for about 8 minutes collecting pieces of a dark crystal to power a couple puzzles. But since we can jump over these walls, that's not an issue. And even if we couldn't, we already have a dark crystal completed, so it'd be
The
easy
three
enough to take care
companions
of.
enter the chamber.
We have a nice slow Titans phase here, so we can kind of get back to what you're saying. So what have been the standout runs for you? What do you like, Mash? It's apparently impossible for Mash to speak. It's okay. I'll
Apparently impossible. What do you mean by that?
I was saying, what have been some of the standout runs for you in the marathon?
I mean, so far, there's just been so much. I've jam-packed the schedule. There's been a lot of good shit. I mean, we had Dark Souls. That was pretty cool. We had Devil May Cry to start out the marathon, and then we had, we had a nice, comfy Star Ocean. And I mean, we got more CVHD and Dark Souls and stuff after, so. I think our highlight of the marathon is definitely the Sunday jam-pack stuff. Like, it's pretty sweet.
So I forgot, I think we got Ys Origins. Is Ghost King running that, or is someone else?
Wise Origins? No, we got Ghost King, so that's super exciting too.
Yeah, I got to see him do that run a couple times. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for that run for sure.
Don't worry, guys. Nothing exciting's happening here. I'm literally just climbing all over this thing and just popping its pimples, basically.
I mean, the exciting part was the terrible audio coming through that was all robotic-y, apparently. But that's fixed now.
It's fine.
You know,
Believe me,
OBS is just
if you were there for Californiathon CVHD, it's fine.
I actually remember seeing the VOD after that, so...
What you didn't see was like the 1.5 hour setup.
Yeah, no, I didn't see that part.
It's
I'm hoping
like
we
that
won't
was.
have that.
We knew that there was a strong possibility that that game was going to be an issue in a live marathon setting, but we wanted to show it off anyway.
So we don't run into that issue after this.
So very important, I don't mess up this QTE, or else I lose like 3 minutes.
Gabriel, take this.
Luckily in this game, QTEs are somewhat forgiving. You can basically press any button, and it'll count as the QTE button you need. So all you need at that point is timing, which is pretty nice. I still hate QTEs. And it's really kind of terrible with this game, because this game, I think, looks fantastic. And it's just a shame that so much of the time
victory.
you can't pay attention
Gabriel
to all
has
the
won
cool
the
stuff
trust
that's
of the
happening because you're too busy waiting for the instant death QTE to pop up. This is the Black Knight. So this is actually where we're supposed to get our first real relic, which is the Dark Gauntlet. I've been using its powers throughout the run right now to do like the ground slams in the air. But this is the duder that we get it from. We're going to do a nice little whirly bird here. This is Ultimate Light. I'm turning off my magic before doing the QTE grapples against him, and that is on purpose. It's extremely unlikely for a magic to spawn, if not impossible for magic to spawn when you're currently charged with magic. Speaking of magic, the light magic, the blue magic, when you hit with it, it allows you to regain your life. If you're charged with dark magic or shadow magic, which is the red, you do additional damage. So nice and simple.
In other words, big combo?
Do big combo. And we pull off his face. Alright. Alright, so that's chapter 2. So now, we're going to run into a couple chapters that are going to go by really
to the
quickly.
mind, and now Gabriel.
This is the Three Towers. Three Towers is an interesting level. This level is supposed to introduce you to the fairy sub-weapon. Fairies are extremely underrated. What fairies do is they distract quite a few enemies. Like, some enemies you wouldn't even think they should distract, they do. So they're very powerful for controlling mobs. And you can even hit them while they're controlled, which is the crazy part. But the crux of this level is you're supposed to run around the three towers, the titular three towers, and pick up 3 fairies in order to progress past a door that is locked. However, because it's New Game Plus, we already have access to these fairies. So we can actually just run right up to the door and clear it. Funny enough, even if you did a New Game clean file of this run, you could actually skip that door and skip getting all that stuff with some clever use of the Dark Gauntlet powers that you would have acquired in the previous stage.
So this game's really open, like, once you get to New Game Plus as far as speedrun tech goes.
Yes and no. It's still a fairly linear path. Give me 1 second. Gotta get over this enormous door. And I mean, like, here you can really see just how powerful holy water is at, like, kind of gaining height. Also, launches. Launches is a pretty universal term in 3D action games as well. It's basically an attack that allows you to then jump into the air afterward. Usually, when you have a launch, it'll usually give you more height than just doing a double jump normally. So this is the door that we're going to bypass and continue on. But I will get back to your question. But we're coming to our first Lord of Shadow. The titular Lords of Shadow that Gabriel is supposed to defeat all 3 of to save the land using the power of the God Mask. Very difficult fight, fraught with danger. So the most dangerous thing here is the camera, which you might see cause me a lot of trouble here. But we'll see if Cornell decides to be nice. There we go. So yeah, we just decide once again that it's way more important to have friends in this world and be friendly, so we allow Cornell to leave, and we just go away. And in reward, he actually gives us his boots. We leave on the back of an eagle, don't worry about it. And we continue on throughout the game. So this is going to be another thing where we skip quite a few things. Ogre skip, which is going to be a boss inside of the stage, and a Chupacabra skip. A basic principle of Chupacabras, they steal all your relics, and you're supposed to basically go through puzzle platforming to recover them. Getting back to what you're saying, though, most of this game is a very linear experience. It is divided up into stages, as you can see. But your methods to approach situations, I guess, is more what you were referring to, right? And,
yeah.
The answer is yeah. Like, once you start understanding what your options are, especially with the advent of backwards long jump, you can really start to abuse certain sections of the game.
Yeah, because, like, casually, you don't see, like, any of these sequence breaks ever. It seems very straightforward, but, I mean, it seems more entertaining in New Game Plus with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, New Game, there is a point where New Game would look very similar to New Game Plus, but it's not until near the end of the game. And even then, you would have much less holy water budget. So, Gabriel is going to try to go through this solid rock wall here. It's totally solid. These are the skills that he acquired in his long tenure with the Brotherhood. So now we're underground and running past this stairway. Again, this is... I should notice, if I go a little bit more to the left than I am right now, I'd be falling infinitely and have to restart the stage. So, I mean, like, this all seems well and good until you move just a little bit off script. And then you find yourself, like, losing between 1 and 4 minutes, depending on the stage. But we bypassed a huge portion of
It
that
is a
stage,
sad
including
tale of the witch who
three
guards
boss
this
fights,
fortress.
and 3 arenas, I believe. We're now going to be coming to the Crow Witch. So Crow Witch is going to be the first, I guess, like, boss, I would say, that we are going to be fighting. The trigger to finish the stage is defeating the Crow Witch, so we will be fighting her.
But wait, you can skip all bosses pretty much except for this Crow Witch?
There's some that we do need to fight. The big question is, like, if the trigger is beating the boss or hitting a, like, place on the stage that opens when you normally kill the boss. And the thing is most of the time, like with Cornell, we just needed to climb that slope, and normally you can't get there until you fight the boss. But since we can bypass the invisible wall there, we can just hit the end of level trigger. And that'll become kind of a sticking point in the run ahead as we go further. So we're bypassing a Spectre arena here. Basic principle with these is I need to get high enough that the grapple point becomes visible and then triggers so that I can grab onto it. Crow Witch. So Crow Witch is either a 3-cycle or a 2-cycle fight. The 2-cycle kind of relies on luck. Crow Witch throws eggs at you, and you're supposed to throw them back to deal damage to her and get her into a stun state. What most people don't know in their casual playthrough is you can actually throw back more than 1 egg that she shoots at you. And while it's common to get 1 to 2 eggs, if you can get the 3rd egg on the very first cycle that she does, then you can potentially get a 2-cycle on her. The problem is that she does this slowdown thing, and when she does a slowdown thing, it can eat your inputs. So, to some extent, it is about luck. Yeah, she got away from me there. So basically the way she arced her eggs and scattered them out was just a little bit too much. I got a hold of the 3rd egg, but she was already flying around and invincible. Ideally, you're supposed to grab that 3rd egg and throw it back at her to initiate the kind of the stunned state of the boss. This is okay though. Grabbing 2 eggs on that phase is totally good. I tried to grab a 2nd egg there. We wouldn't put on extra damage there, but we would prevent having to kill more of her spawn, which sucks. It's okay, though. Still on target for about where we should be with this fight. My run currently has a 3-cycle for this, and it potentially could save 30 to 40 seconds if you were able to get a 2-cycle consistently. But it's hard. It's hard to execute, and I think it does rely a little bit on luck as well. So, you know, we work with what we got. Alright, I'm going to hope these crows are close. Okay, they are. The reason I was going to hope they were close is so that I could maybe blow a little bit of light magic to kill them, rather than wasting shadow magic. Nice. So I was a little concerned also with how long that took, that she would decide that she wanted to throw a Crow Storm at us. Crow Storm costs you like 4 or 6 seconds. Just a separate attack that you can't get damage off of. I will say the biggest casualty of this run is you don't really get to check out all the like crazy cool kills that you do on bosses. But, you know, sacrifices must be made. These little cutscenes. Sometimes there's little cutscenes you can't skip, and that's why I'm not. But there's a large majority of them you can.
Well, I must say, for like having like a really low upload for bitrate, I mean, this is coming through pretty nice.
So it seems
Alright.
Pan has saved
So Varus
Gabriel
Woods.
once more.
So Varus Woods is where we're going to see, hopefully, our one and only Chupacabra. And so you guys will get to see what that's all about. So this little guy, who has a modulated Hideo Kojima voice, basically steals all of our relics and powers. Our next fastest form of movement, without sprint, is rolling. and grab rolling. When you grab during a roll, you can actually recover a tiny bit faster. Not really useful, particularly in this route, except here. Becomes much more relevant if you were to do like a new game route. Very Zelda.
It seems interesting. The game wants you to get powers and then just decides to take them away from you, though.
Again, these are meant to be like kind of platforming filler segments. I think this one is more supposed to continue to teach you to fight without access to your powers. But it just seems kind of odd that they would do that, considering like you just got access to these powers. They're already taking them from you. So this is the other place we could potentially get a couple of glitched boar charges. There's one. And there's two. Excellent. So 3 out of 4 for glitched boar charges, which is pretty good. There is a very slight climbing skip you could do here. It would save about 3 seconds, but missing it costs you like 6, so we're not going to do it. So we need to release a fairy there to distract him from him. We're going to go ahead and buffer a jump here just to get off this ledge a little quicker. I've been periodically using the stomp. Stomp is very good, not just for getting back on the ground quickly, but also for slamming down on terrain you're not supposed to be able to stand on. So you'll see me use that periodically out of bounds in order to force a standing state. That's not a guarantee that that's what that'll do, but it does help quite a bit. You'll notice I keep getting ejected back to the chapter select, and that's just what happens when you finish a chapter or the first stage of a chapter. So this is Weigal Village. Say bye to Weigal Village, because we're getting a nice out-of-bounds look. Nice out-of-bounds sightseeing there. And, yeah, I guess we'll see Weigal Village another run. So what we're going to do here is we're trying valiantly to trigger the end of level sequence, so we got it pretty decently there.
Below the Abbey, ready
so we got Abbey Catacombs. Abbey Catacombs, I'm going to be doing a segmented strat that I just learned about 36 hours ago. So let's hope it works out.
Get out of my sight!
So we're going to go ahead and stand on top of this gate.
You will all meet the same fate.
And we're going to hope that we get enough height here. Okay.
Back, you demons.
And we're approaching the end of level trigger here from behind. And we got it.
The traps laid by the abbot have proved tricky.
Alright, Abbey Library. Do I do the stupid skip mash? Or do I try
stupid
for it?
skip? I mean, want to show it off? That's up to you, but...
Alright, we'll give it a shot. Because if we have to restart, it's not the end of the world. Because presumably we'll be able to restart at a good place anyway.
I mean, I love seeing stupid skips.
Okay. Alright, we're gonna have to try that again. This is honestly the hardest part, is getting into position to try the stupid skip. But we'll give it a couple of attempts. This one is not inside of my run right now because it's very hard. Alright. Alright, so now we got a checkpoint. Okay. So it looks like we're not going to do it. We're going to end up inbounds. Normally I just get back inbounds to this stage and work from there. What you can do is you can basically bypass this puzzle right here by going past the door. But it requires a really kind of precise set of movements involving a shadow charge and a delayed backwards long jump. And it sets you up back here. The funny part is because of the way you trigger it, the scene doesn't load correctly, so you kind of have to do a blind backwards jump over stuff. Just put it that way.
The tower at the
And we
Abbey
just
of
skip over the
Wygol
rest
was
of the
once
level
a
there
place-
by bypassing a gate that holds us off from the last section. Yeah, it's really hard to kind of talk about a lot of these skips without having kind of a pretty strong knowledge about the game and collision detection and stuff. So right here, we are going to get rid of this first set of imps, because if we don't, they're going to interrupt us as we attempt this skip. Okay. Okay. Alright, so we had a little bit of a problem there, because one of the imps decided to be a jerk. But besides that, everything went okay. We released some light fairies. Light fairies are like bombs that home in. Unfortunately, that imp is gonna be a huge problem. That imp is actually like gonna destroy us. Please hit that guy.
I never liked the imps
Yeah,
in
that
this
imp's
game.
gonna destroy us. Alright, so we're gonna have to give up a little time here. Alright. So, because we missed the one imp on the bridge, he like dodged 3 or 4 daggers. He survived and basically... Alright, we're in trouble now. What can we do? Okay, we have to restart from checkpoint. There's no way around it from here. Basically what happened there is, because of that imp and hitting us, we never properly reloaded the stage at the beginning there, and that made it so that we were constantly hitting death collision on a critical path for the player. So, basically, and that's what I mean, is like, I knew how to adjust for this particular thing because I've seen it before, but after running this game for a fair amount of time, you learn to understand that sometimes something will happen that just, you have to restart from your checkpoint. There's no other way around it. And again, that can cost you quite a bit of time, depending on where you are in the level. But yeah, that imp brought the business there. My original strat that's actually a segmented strat I was going for as well. My original strat was to just completely clear them out using a holy water and a dark crystal. But the strat that I was using could potentially save about 10 seconds. So it's just unfortunate that it ended up being slower. But something else for me to learn, you know. I thought that was a pretty safe strat, but I've never seen an imp dodge 4 or 5 daggers, so I guess that's the downside.
Looks like
The
they're
power
getting
to
smart.
defeat the vampires is now in our hands.
Alright, we're going to
and that-
Bronner. Those of you who know Bronner, it's a Portrait of Ruin alumni. He's been hitting the juice, been getting on the gas for this version of the game. And he's not quite as majestic. He doesn't quite do as much art. And, you know, even though he's been working out, he hasn't really been getting stronger, because we're just going to Ultimate Shadow him basically into this wall, and then brutalize him with Ultimate Light by spinning in circles. Imagine being so strong that you can just rip the giant wings off of a buff vampire. Alright. So that's going to do it for Bronner. We're going to be moving our way into the castle sewers.
Wygol
So this whole time,
village is
basically,
safe
they've been
for
trying
now.
to lead
The
us to
vampire-
the castle of the vampire Dark Lord. And we're now going to sneak our way in through the poo gas-filled sewers. Luckily, we won't have to deal with any of the poo gas or the enchanted skeletons that are pretty difficult to deal with in here. We're just going to stand on top of this pipe and go through this wall. At least that's the plan. Plan always changes, though, as apparently I land a little too far. And even though we start at the level start here, it's not a huge issue. It's a very short level. So, let's do this again. There we go. Be a little bit more conservative. There we go. And get through the level trigger.
Despite his
So, Castle
best
Courtyard.
efforts to
Castle
try
Courtyard,
entering
you
the
are
castle
supposed to fight off some enormous dark magic-powered knights, and then fall into a gladiatorial pit, where vampires laugh at you in your futile attempts to escape from skeletons and wargs. We're going to ignore all that. We're going to jump over this fence to hit a checkpoint in case we make a mistake. And we're going to jump through this totally there wall and attempt to trigger the next part of the scene. Okay, we are now inside the gladiatorial arena. We're going to restart from checkpoint. Restarting from checkpoint gets us our double jump back as we're falling, and we can get out of the arena. So easy peasy. So if you ever find yourself in a situation where you need to escape a vampire death trap, just restart from checkpoint. It's pro tips for your next trip to Eastern Europe. We're releasing fairies here to distract some skeletons that are supposed to stop you from cranking this lever. Another really good use for fairies, besides distracting enemies to do combat with them, deal free damage, is distraction. For running away. Like a
It seems getting
huge
into
hero.
the castle will be more difficult than first.
We're now in Maze Gardens. Maze Gardens is going to use a similar strategy that we saw in Waterfalls of Icarta, where we are going to, and in the previous stage as well actually, where we're going to stomp onto a statue, and that statue is going to give us additional height in order to sequence break. So normally we're supposed to get a spider to spin a web bridge to this puzzle. But with a little ingenuity, enough height, and a backwards double jump, we can make it across the gap. Very important that we get that much height there, because even though it doesn't seem like it would take that much height, there is a huge invisible wall there until you get the spider and spin a web bridge. Because that visible wall is still technically there, we need to bypass it by restarting from checkpoint. By restarting from checkpoint after we complete this puzzle, the game assumes we should have a web bridge here and spins one for us. Alright. We still do need this spooner, because we still need it to break the gate. If you could please... Okay, there we go. So apparently that Spriggan spawning in the ground just stopped me. Gabriel Belmont, the Spider Whisperer. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are like, Simon is the best Belmont, or like, Richter's the best Belmont. But can either of them ride a spider? I mean, that's power right there.
I don't know. I think Julius or Julius is a really good Belmont.
Alright, so now we're inside the
Time is
mansion, or the
running out.
castle proper.
Night is almost upon
Castle
us.
Hall is
Soon
a ball buster. Basically, there is some rough collision on this next sequence break that can just decide not to let you pass. We are going to distract these vampires. There's going to be some intense QTE cranking action. Wow, what a jerk. It's a good thing that that was the last crank, or I would have been furious. Alright, let's give this a shot. So. Alright, we got it. So getting over that wall skips 3 arenas, 2 puzzles, a partridge, and a pear tree.
She has the
It also
body of
keeps
an
us from doing the
innocent
chess
child,
minigame.
Yet the wits.
We're going to be doing the refectory now. Refectory has one of the more interesting bosses of the game, which is the butcher. We are not going to see him. We have decided for him to continue to remain mysterious and an integral part of the castle's staff. So we're going to skip over this door by going out of bounds. However, we are super out of bounds at this point, so we start from checkpoint to get back in bounds. It is possible to skip over this door as well, but it is much safer and roughly as fast to just do the puzzle. So we're going to do that. Once again, using fairies for their distract property. Fairies cannot distract the huge knights, but he's so glacially slow that that doesn't matter. Alright, on to chapter 7.
The butcher
Balcony.
who commanded the castle kitchens fed.
So we are now over halfway through the game, despite what it shows on the map. The map has 2 DLC chapters. Those are not part of the 80% route. They're also pretty bad. I would never recommend them to anybody, because they're really bad. Intense balancing action here. So they really want you to fight these specters the first time you play this game, but if you actually know that you can climb up this stuff, you're actually pretty safe to just leave them be. So you're supposed to find some keys to access this gate. We're gonna say nay to that, good sir. And instead, we're just gonna jump around out of bounds. So right now I'm outside of the wall on a small thin platform, which will now expand to allow me to hit the end of level trigger.
This part
Electric
of the
Laboratory.
castle
Electric
was once where
Laboratory
claims
was
site.
one of those stages that, once again, took me about a month to crack what was happening in the segmented route. For those of you, for a little bit of an education, I guess. History of this game for speedrunning. Satvara, Findlestick, and Akion, along with a couple of other people, including Batia Zone, really pushed this game to figure out how it worked and what sequence breaks they could do. They did the best they could to document kind of specific tactics, but not really how to do things. Like, they would say things like, hey, you can bypass this electrical puzzle. But they didn't really say how to do it. So that kind of caused a lot of problems for me first learning this game. When I first started learning this game, even before backwards long jumping was kind of figured out, it was extremely brutal, because not only were the tricks extremely hard, but I had to basically backwards engineer every single skip that I tried to make work. We are now standing on a breakable wall. And the reason we're doing this is to try to get out of bounds and gain access to a key item. Okay. And it's stuff like this, because like so many of these skips, you're noticing, like probably about 80% of them, you have no ability to see where Gabriel is in reference to anything else. Oh god. Oh god, okay. We're... Okay. We're in a little bit of trouble here. Please. Okay, there we go. I was in a little bit of trouble because I know if I move a little bit further, I fall off into infinity.
Defeated Frankenstein's abomination.
So figuring out how to do that skip and get behind that wall and then get past those lasers was really difficult to figure out. You know, with anything like that, it always feels great when you actually do get it and you figure out how something works and then you get it consistent, or at least relatively so. It's a good example of guillotine being used to grab onto terrain that it's not supposed to be able to. Shoot. Okay. We're gonna have to go for this again. Fortunately, we slammed into a space in between the door, which is kind of crummy when that happens. Because the setup that I have here is supposed to minimize the risk of that. Alright. So we're doing kind of a slow version of this, but that's okay. And where we're at is we're behind the door, but on top of it, on a dome. And we need to kind of get off the slope there. We're going to watch this cutscene, because the game's going to call us out.
Fair. I never lose. You're a cheat. And you're going to pay.
Oh no. It's the Twin Galaxies police. They're coming to stop my speedrun and all the cheating.
Now, play with my toys.
So, as tempting as it is to blow a dark crystal and just kill these guys instantly, it doesn't actually work. When you blow, or when you kill these things without doing the grapple, they just reform. So we do have to do this a little bit slow. Nicely enough, though, when you kill them, they give you a nice little surge of dark magic. So even in a New Game Plus run without full power, you have plenty of access to magic to deal with these guys. So I saw a question, how long would this game be without these crazy skips? Hard to tell. Nobody that I'm aware of has done a real glitchless run, and a glitchless run of this game would be pretty abysmal. It would also be kind of hard to determine what a glitch is for some of the movement tech. Obviously anything with like out of bounds makes sense, but then there's things where it's like, I mean, I'm getting over an invisible wall that's an invisible wall, but it's still in bounds. Like, does that count? Type of thing. I do plan eventually on routing New Game, but for right now I have other projects, like pushing down full power. I'd also love to get a run of this SDA caliber and approved. Which may seem kind of odd, seeing as how many mistakes I'm making here and there.
Love can be a powerful weapon.
There are times when I do manage to play well, you know, once or twice in my life. And maybe I can catch one of those on film and get it approved by the SDA old boys. Gabriel Belmont confirmed to be Todd Rogers. So right here we're doing another arena and puzzle skip. Get on top of this big gate. We get to see the big chain. Look at how big this chain is. That's a big chain.
That is a pretty big chain.
What does this chain do? I have no idea, but it's a big chain. So we're going to release a ton of fairies, and we are going to hope that these distract all of the imps, and so they don't hit me. And we're going to bypass right now. This is called the Holy Cross Breakout. I'll explain it in just a moment. Okay, that's a problem. Please make it. Uh-oh. We might not have made it in time. Please have made it far enough. Okay, good. Alright, so sorry about that. My game actually minimized for some reason. So what happened there is there's a move called the Holy Cross. When you use it, you can actually break out or stop certain animations or prompts from occurring. Normally, Gabriel is supposed to pick up a key off of that dead body, and during the time that he's picking up the key, the door closes on him. However, since we had full motion after the Holy Cross breakout, we were able to leave the room before the door locked us in. So we're now starting to get into the ballbuster stages.
Playing on his thought.
We have the Clockwork Tower.
Oh man, I remember this tower.
It's going to be considerably different, I think, than when you did it.
Well, yeah.
Having double jump tends to help. Like, we just skipped the entire first floor there by making that jump on the moving platforms. We're going to attempt to skip a large portion of the second floor as well. Hopefully 3/4 of it. We're going to skip that lightning trap that you can see in the background, hopefully, with a well-placed jump and some holy water. See if we get that. Funny thing about Ultimate Light, you can also use it to balance beam across stuff. It's kind of silly. Okay, yeah, I better just drop that. So I actually, like, ran into the platform as it was coming past. Wow, making some really bad jumps here. Okay, this is workable. Alright. Still saved some time there, funny enough. I'm gonna go for a slide strat right here that can save a couple seconds. Ah, I didn't get it. Alright, we're gonna do this normally. So it is possible to jump on the top of basically this railing like that. And I wasn't even going for it that time. I was hoping that Gabriel would be smart enough to grab the ledge. He rarely is, though. But you can actually slide across the top of these banisters and hit this ledge. It saves a few seconds. Here we're going to double jump and then use an avalanche punch to trigger an out-of-sight grapple point. So we still skipped about half of that stage, that second floor, but not quite all of it. Here we're going to attempt to do the Frankenstein's Monster 2 skip. And that revolves around revolving around this thing and hoping that we get a good pattern. That didn't help. You can stop there. In fact, that didn't help a lot. Alright, so we at least raised the platform, which is good. I don't think he's going to let us do the skip, but let's give it a good old try. So the big problem here is he has activated his telekinesis move. Alright, yeah, we're not going to be able to do it. His green telekinesis move, he just completely destroys the collision around him and makes it impossible to do anything remotely close to technical other than just hit him in the face. It's the main reason why I don't really go for it in runs. However, I did manage to get the platform across, which is nice. If I manage to get that in a run, that's still a time save, because I don't need to re-crank the dial completely. But, yeah. It's just unfortunate. I think I've gotten that a total of 3 times in my entire time playing this game, and it's just because he's so finicky. Like, if he crowds the plank, or the invisible wall, you can't do it. If he does telekinesis, you can't do it. You just gotta concede the time. Alright, Olrox. Olrox is quite difficult. It is a skip. It is a full stage skip. But it's one of the hardest in the game. So we're going to see how well this goes. Perfect. First try. Alright, so the reason why that's so difficult is the end of level trigger there is very, very thin. You have to approach it from only like 1 of 2 angles, and that's all you get. It's also important that you get on top of that first chain with the jump sequence that I did at the beginning, because if you don't, you won't have enough height to be able to get past the invisible wall near the door. This is Carmilla. She's the Dark Lord of the Vampires. First scene's easy enough. You just dominate it with holy water. Vampires, extremely weak to holy water. I mentioned how lichens get destroyed by silver daggers. Vampires get destroyed by holy water. I mean, once again, you're starting to see that the combat isn't the real draw of this speedrun. The real draw of this speedrun is just all the crazy skips and tech that you have available to you. Because, I mean, the Ultimate Light and Ultimate Shadow are just going to dominate every boss fight that you do have. Clearly they aren't using a watch bot. They're using the stream homies. Jesus. Let's just resurrect that old mess, right? Oops. So this is an unskippable cutscene. It involves QTEs. Oh man, going back to it, so somebody mentioned the icon of Simon. That basically indicates that a cheat is active, that is mentioned for full power. Interesting thing about it is that it also shows kind of the state that Gabriel is in, so it can be used for positional advantage as well when you're in the middle of skips that you can't see Gabriel in. Another nice thing about enabling a cheat, even one that doesn't actually affect your character, is that it removes the autosave function, which is nice. Yeah, this game is extremely visually impressive, I feel. Even more so when it's running at 60 frames per second on PC, as opposed to like the 20 that it gets on PS3 and 360. Yeah, like there's some really cool scenes. Like this, and all like the kill scenes and stuff are awesome. Like I said, the biggest casualty of this run is the fact that you don't get to see some of the boss kills, like Bronner boss kill, Olrock's boss kill. Like both of those are super awesome. Very important I hit these QTEs, by the way, because if I fail even one of them, I lose like 2.5 minutes. So, let's not do that. So I mentioned that this game's totally fine, I think, casually. Its biggest problem, I think, which funny enough is its combat, which you might think like, well, if the combat's bad in a character action game, shouldn't that automatically make it a bad game? That should really be a testament to how strong I think the other aspects of the game are. That it tanks in certain aspects of combat, but is still a really good, like, experience otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna shit on the game for combat, you might as well just say like, there's tons of games I think have terrible combat that are still good games. So.
Yeah. So now we would have access to the Holy Water and the Seraph Wings, which allow you to gain double jump. So from here on out, even the new game run would look pretty similar. You just wouldn't be able to do quite as much since you'd have less Holy Water. Coming up here, we are going to use a Dark Crystal on this arena. This arena is skippable, but we will be killing it in order to get a checkpoint here. We are going to be going for kind of a tricky Chupacabra skip here. And if we miss the Chupacabra skip and had to restart, we restart from the beginning of the level, which is not good. I'd rather have a checkpoint that's still relatively close. So, killing that checkpoint is definitely the right solution when you're talking about a marathon. Shoot. And that's exactly why we do it. So, this is another tricky part about the Chupacabra step. I do not want to jump on that platform. I thought I waited extra to make sure I wouldn't. You'd rather fall to your death there and take a 4-second respawn time than have to run back here. But unfortunately, Gabriel decided that he was going to be the best jumper ever. See, that's what I'd rather have happen. Okay. Alright. Shoot. So the rough part about this is that even once you... So I'm trying to get around some collision for the canopy of the tree, which is already difficult enough. But even after getting past the canopy's collision, I then need to basically land a certain way. Oh, are you kidding me? Wow. This game is being a real jerk right now. So what I'm trying to do there is I'm trying to slam down on the ground to recover my jump so that I can jump out of the slope that I'm currently in there. What happens is after you do that jump, there's an extended slope, and that slope is angled just in such a way that it actually carries you back into the cutscene. Which is basically the worst. Okay, there we go. So we actually probably saved, like, no time there, just because of how poorly that went, but, such is life. Alright, so now that we've gotten through that, we're just going to go ahead and continue on till the end of the stage. So, I would say the Abbey Library is probably my favorite stage, just because it gives you an idea of, like, the game design involved in the level. Not just, like, a design visual aspect, but technically how it was made. And Woesmore is probably my second favorite level for that reason as well. You're going to kind of get to see an inside look at kind of how the designers built the game a little bit. And I'll talk about that a little more as we get into this.
Death is strong.
So Woesmore, you're supposed to run all around solving this like crow puzzle where you activate these scarecrows and kill them, and then keys spawn. Basically, the scarecrows are mini-bosses that you kill for keys. However, if you're able to get out of bounds here, you can now be underneath the level, and you can actually tell that the keys exist underneath the stage even before fighting the bosses or spawning them. And they actually just raise through the ground when you defeat the boss. So by being out of bounds here, we can actually pick up the keys without ever triggering anything inside of this level that we're supposed to. Much like the refectory, where we skip the butcher, once we get access to all these, we still need to be in bounds to use the keys. So we'll restart from checkpoint. That restart allows us to get back in bounds without having to do any crazy shenanigans. Pay no attention to the crows. They have nothing to do in this speedrun. Stop paying attention to the crows. Alright, now time for everybody's favorite part of the speedrun. We're gonna find
The old
the
hag
blue
has
rose for
cast a
Baba.
spell on Gabriel, making him...
So Music Box is not an auto-scroller, but pretty close to one. You still do need to execute, or else you can lose time on the auto-scroller. Basic principle here, we pick up cylinders. Each cylinder is related to a trap, and you get a certain amount of time to get past the trap before triggering the next one. So green is strike, red is platforms, and you kind of move from there. There is a potential skip that I have been unable to confirm on the PC version of this game. The PlayStation 3 version at least, maybe the 360 as well, on the unpatched versions, you are able to skip the music box. It is extremely hard. I have only done it once in about 500 tries, and I have been unable to even get out of bounds on the PC version, so I don't even know if it's possible in PC. If somebody could actually verify that, that would be insanely helpful. But I doubt anybody is going to pick up this game because you have to be crazy.
I mean, I already have the game, just not on PC.
But yeah, I've played a fair amount of speedruns, I would say, and a few of them to at least a competent level, some of them to a pretty high level, actually. And, yeah, like, this game probably is the hardest speedrun I've had to learn. Just because of, like I said, the documentation being kind of shoddy, the fact that, like, barely anyone knows it, the people that do know it, you know, they don't really talk too much. Like, just the dissemination of information is extremely poor for this game, and I am trying to help with that. I recently published kind of a very short, I hesitate to call it a tutorial, but it's more of an archival of the strategies that I use currently in this route. Wow, why did I even go for that? Actually, I know exactly why I went for that. Idiot.
Dangerous the music box is.
I just went for a little fancy thing there and failed at it. It's alright. It's fine. It's totally fine because, again, basically an auto-scroller.
Basically an auto-scroller. Can't you skip it?
But, yeah, it's, again, even though it's probably the hardest speedrun I've ever had to learn, it's also
Baba
been
Yaga
extremely
sent our hero
rewarding
to
when
the
I
Titan's
have figured
graveyard.
something out. And I will say, this thing got, again, easily, like, if backwards long jumping didn't get discovered, this game would not really be RTA viable. It just, you'd be losing runs all over the place. But since that kind of emerged, I was able to kind of relook at the game and establish some better strategies and more consistent ones as a result. So this is Titan's Graveyard. Titan's Graveyard is a arena stage, like multiple arenas that hide keys. The keys are used to move kind of these dead titans and move their body parts into positions to make platforms. We can bypass most of these with clever use of invisible walls and such. First of which is going to be over here, just after this enemy gets introduced. Very important that I kind of space out my running on that invisible platform there. If I don't, then I could end up running off of it and fall in the swamp. Swamp does kind of like damage over time. It's also whirly-birdable over with Ultimate Light, which is what I was doing there. So now we're going to try to get onto a platform that we shouldn't have access to until we would normally gain access to a couple of power cores to move this Titan's arm. From here, we are attempting to change the camera angle. And we got the camera angle changed. Changing to that camera angle loads the trigger for the end of the level, and now we just have to hope that we got enough distance to walk through this swamp fart gas. And we did.
Powerful
So, fire pinnacle.
necromancers have used
We get to
this
fight
weapon.
Pan, the old god that we've literally never seen through the speed. But
without your magic.
he says, let's see how powerful you are without your magic. But he didn't take away my dark crystal, so I'm just going to break that in his face. That's going to get me a decent amount into the first phase of this fight. However, we're going to use some sweet parry action here for the first time in the run to output a little bit more damage. We're also going to punch this old god in the face and break his arm, because we're Gabriel Belmont. So this is trying to teach you the mechanic for the final boss fight in the game, which is some enemies have light and dark magic. You cannot hit a person with light magic when you have light magic on. You cannot hit dark with dark. You have to use the opposing element. So even though he gave me light magic back because he had it activated, I couldn't use ultimate light. But eventually he turned it off, so then I was able to use ultimate light to finish him off. Now that I have access to both of my magics, it doesn't matter what he switches to, I'll be able to hit him no matter what. So he switched to Shadow there, so I'll switch to Light instead. That's actually good luck. Ultimate Light has higher DPS than Ultimate Shadow. Ultimate Shadow does higher damage per hit, but it slows down time per hit. Hardest QT in the game here. That one's extremely hard because not only is it quite fast, but it also moves across the stream, so like it can be kind of hard to pick up on the first time you see it casually. Ultimate Shadow is easier to get like consistent damage off on because it dashes to the enemy, but if you can catch somebody in the corner, Ultimate Light is your go-to. Slight climbing skip we're gonna try here. Got it. That saves like 3-4 seconds. We're gonna try to get another one here. This one is considerably harder to do. Yeah, we're not gonna get it. This guy's being a jerk. Alright, yeah, we're just gonna do the climbing sequence. I've been like really, this is one of the segmented strats I've been trying to add, but I've been struggling with. It seems like I can get it pretty often in practice, but in actual runs, getting it to go is not doing so well. But you'd basically grab onto this ring immediately without having to do that climbing, or you could potentially grab onto this ledge, or very, very rarely you can end up on that platform. We're going to be doing our final Chupacabra skip in the game here. This one is actually much easier than it would appear. We basically just need to get high enough so that we go over that arching chain in the background. Okay. So there's two cutscenes. The first one takes your items with the Chupacabra. The second one introduces you to the puzzle involving him. So I skipped the one where he takes my items, but I did not skip the one where it loads the puzzle. Thank you, game, for doing exactly not what I told you, which is that. Alright, there we go. Alright, crematory oven.
Flames of hell itself.
So, crematory oven, we got the Gravedigger skip. Gravedigger skip is massively difficult, like many of the other skips. It also has various components of RNG to it. I'm just going to try my best to try and hit it. It's just a very, very precise technique to do an air move and then air backwards long jumping on a very specific angle. If you do any other type of angle or don't get a backwards one but maybe a sideways long jump, it doesn't work. And we got it first try. Sick. So, that's maybe deceptively easy. I've spent like 7 minutes on that before. and not gotten it once. So for me to get that first try, like normally I can get it within 5 tries now, but for me to get that first try is really, really good. Alright,
And
last
so
3
it
levels.
begins.
Necromancer's
The
Abyss.
Necromancer's Abyss.
There's a puzzle at the beginning of this. We are not going to do it. Instead, we are going to jump over a wall, and then we're going to make a road appear from nowhere. Don't worry about it. It's just video games. Dang. Okay. This is okay. It's just kind of annoying. Alright, there we go. So because that happened, we might need to do a restart from checkpoint side of this stage to get back some holy water. Unfortunately, this puzzle is not skippable. We do need to do this one in perpetuity. It's kind of crummy as well. 4, 3, 4, 4, 2. Okay, what I was gonna say is it's kind of crummy. Not only can we not skip it, we can't skip the cutscenes associated with it, and also if you make a mistake, you can't go back. So you just have to play it out if you make a mistake and then do the whole thing over again. So it's really punishing if you mess it up for the end. Slight platforming skip here. They didn't expect you to approach this portal from that angle. That allows you to just jump there. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really gotten a chance to look at the Automata speedrun because, to be honest, I haven't actually played the game yet, and I do want to pick it up at some point. Just the backlog grows, let's put it that way. But I have heard good things about it. I actually, one of the people that I used to love watching, he doesn't really speedrun anymore, but EXE from Germany, he used to be a God of War series speedrunner. He used to do God of War 1 through 3 runs, and that was kind of a fun run to watch. So we're going to go for the Necromancer skip. It's possible that I might need to reload from checkpoint here. I have really low amount of holy water. We need to basically land on a platform that we cannot see and hope that our angle is good. To complicate this even further, he can do that, which is summon those zombies. You might go, what does it matter if he summons zombies? Well, when he summons those zombies, he actually locks our inputs. So when that happens, we basically lose all control of what we were attempting to do at any given time. So I'm going to restart from checkpoint because I didn't have a lot of holy water to make something work there. This skip is possible with 0 holy water, but it's way, way harder to do. Go for that. Thank you for locking my inputs. Luckily, my input was good enough to land down here. This was another skip that has cost me a lot of runs, just because for the longest time I didn't understand where this platform was in space compared to where I was jumping from. And it turns out it is below and towards kind of like the eclipse, I guess would be the way to put it. So you kind of have to hold an awkward direction, and unless you kind of looked at the level from an out-of-bounds perspective or somehow had a level editor hack, you basically have no idea that that place exists. Alright, so now get back over the gate. We have activated this portal from bashing that one button at the bottom on the lower platform. Normally you'd have to hit 2 more buttons and kill that boss in order to open the gate and then progress. But since we were able to turn on that portal, we didn't need to do that. We will need to deal with this necromancer, though. So this is kind of the safe way to do this, is to just kind of shadow charge him. So we're coming up to probably the first sequence break that really drew me to this run. And if you've played this game and remember this at all, it should be pretty astounding. We're going to be doing the Dracolich skip. Dracolich is the final Titan that you're supposed to fight. Fighting it casually, even if you know what you're doing, it's between a 6 and an 8 minute fight. We are going to try to force our way to the trigger that goes to the last phase of the boss. That's going to kind of be how that works. I digress, though. We need to go ahead and finish up with Necromancer's Abyss first. There is still a little bit more to do here. Alright. I was having trouble getting this jump before also. This is, there we go. Oh, come on. So I'm trying to get that grapple point to activate. And, didn't really want to there. Wanted to be, difficult. Still saved a little bit of time over the intended route there. The intended route would take like another 10 seconds from what I had. Those of you who somehow haven't gotten enough of my commentary yet, I will be playing as part of the Castlevania Harmony of Despair co-op team. That's going to be coming up next as well, along with Lantern and Epikai. So stay tuned for that. Do we have any other kind of, what's our next couple runs after that we got coming up here, Mash, if you don't mind?
Alright.
And please don't stop the timer as you're doing it.
No, I'm not. Don't worry.
I mean, this isn't world record pace, but I'd still like to know what I'm getting here.
Yeah, it's all good. I'm not gonna fumble the keyboard.
So what do we got on the schedule? Give me the next 2 games after Harmony of Despair. What can people look forward to? Bash, you're worrying me.
What?
What next 2 games are there after Harmony of Despair? What's coming
Harmony
up
of
down the
Despair.
pipe?
Okay, well after Harmony of Despair, we have Soten, which is going to be pretty epic, I think. Then we have Gothic. That'll be something. Gothic will definitely be something.
He has come for
And
his
then,
revenge,
surprise,
and he
surprise, we now have another Dark Souls randomizer run.
All right,
And
I gotta
a
go ahead and
Demon Souls run.
let me get this Dracolich down here first.
Yeah.
All right. Dark Souls randomizer, though, I've been hearing good things about.
I mean, this guy apparently doesn't. I mean, that and the Demon Souls runner don't apparently.
So,
But
I got a pretty good launch there off of the Shadow Charge, but I made a slight mistake on a strategy that I've just barely started developing for when that happens. Okay. Alright. So you really only get about 2 chances to get on top of this invisible wall, and really it's kind of more like 1. Yeah, alright. So it is imperative that I hit this skip. And this is kind of one of the problems, is like, there's skips where even if you know kind of exactly what to do, they can still just kind of destroy you, which is why I still wanted a very liberal estimate for this. So there's our skip. We finally hit the trigger to the final phase of the boss. We're going to break a Dark Crystal to make it so we only need to hit the final ruin once. It's a slight time save. However, if you reach this part, you could technically just do this punching sequence twice and still beat the boss, even with his full health bar. And that's just because the game still assumes that the Dracolich is at a certain amount of health when you enter that phase of the fight.
Waiting.
We're going to have... So, if you guys were thinking we were going to fight Dracula, hell no. We are going to do some fisticuffs with the Satan. This is Satan right here. Gabriel Belmont is literally beating Satan across the face with his combat attacks. That is actually the lore.
Impossible.
I'm not making this up.
Is that
This isn't some sort of cute attempt to make this game seem more epic than it is, or Gabriel more than he is. He is actually doing divine fisticuffs in the air. Basically DBZ fighting with holy power right now against the Satan. Alright,
Crazy fucking action.
time is going to be coming up here. It's going to be not after this next phase, but it's going to be during a certain QT, and I'll let you know, okay?
Alright.
Yeah, unfortunately I can't skip these cutscenes. Another potential skip that hasn't been verified on PC, you can skip these cutscenes in between using a Dark Crystal. I haven't been able to confirm it on PC. And I've only gotten like 1 for 200 on console as well. So for now, it stays in segmented land. So, very important that I go through the shields that appear on the ground here with the correct color. If I don't, then I get knocked back.
Stay back from me.
So, red, blue, I'm going to take a safe path this way. Grab him. Okay. So you get the nice little showdown here. Alright. So Gabriel's going to kick him out of the ground here. And it's going to be the next QTE after that one, okay?
All right.
So here comes the kick. Boop. And... time.
All right.
What'd I get?
139, 28, 27.
139. I'd say that means that we can watch the ending. How's that sound?
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Alright. You guys go ahead and enjoy the ending. I'm actually going to AFK for a minute, grab a drink, so I got to be in for the next run. But hopefully you guys enjoy it. See you guys in a bit.
Take your hands off me, murderer. Your soul is damned.
I ask forgiveness and mercy for those that I have wronged. What I did unknowingly. Yet I would change everything if I could.
He isn't listening, Gabriel. Your fate is fixed.
Every man has the power to repent. I have faith in that. Forgive me. Forgive me, my God.
I will have such fun with your Marie. will introduce her to such pleasures.
Her soul will go only to him. Once I have finished with you, Angel.